Are you a fan of tulips? Today we're reviewing Tulip Time in Europe with AmaWaterways. Welcome to RTE-Travel Talk. Ask a real travel expert, the show that talks to travel professionals around the world. Joining me today to review this river cruise is Christy Fitzharris, owner of Wheels Up Travel and Cruise. If you enjoy the journey with us today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. And if this video's got you inspired, give it a thumbs up or drop a comment and join the conversation. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for being part of our travel community, whether you're a longtime fan or just dropping by. We really appreciate it. And now, on with the show. Hi, Christy. Welcome back to RTE Travel Talk.
Hi, Ken. Good morning.
Great to have you with us again, Christy. So I understand that you just recently returned from a AmaWaterways river cruise during Tulip Time with, I believe, your mom. I'd love to hear all about that today. How does that sound?
That sounds great, Ken.
Perfect. So let's dive right in. Why don't you give us a review of the itinerary and some of the highlights and tell us a little bit about it?
So it was a beautiful itinerary. We began in mid-April in Amsterdam.
Right.
So it's a beautiful 7-day itinerary, round trip from Amsterdam, sailing through Kampen, Brunies, Ghent, Rotterdam, and Antwerp, ending in Ghent, which is the new replacement for the ending being actually in the city of Amsterdam, because the government is working through some things, eliminating some congestion in Amsterdam. Ghent's absolutely beautiful, and we had a great time for the entire week.
So what prompted you to choose this cruise for your mom?
Last year, I had been in Amsterdam at the end of March, so really kind of the very beginning of the beautiful tulip season that they have there. My mom is an enormous fan of all bulb flowers. I wanted to go back.
Yep.
So I scheduled this group sailing for myself and my clients as soon as I returned last year, and my mom couldn't resist, and so she joined in, and it was a wonderful experience, a particularly good experience to share as a mother-daughter team.
Okay, so Tulip Time. Tell me again the dates that you were gone.
This sailing was from the 16th to the 23rd of April, and that was by design at peak tulip time. The city was in bloom, the country was in bloom, and of course, our grand finale, Keukenhof, was in peak condition.
Oh, fantastic.
The full season runs from the end of March through potentially all the way through the end of May, but the sweet spot really is into mid to late April.
Now, I gather you were with AmaWaterways.
We were.
How did you find the ship?
As always, the ship was fantastic, not too crowded, the perfect number of guests on board at about 156. The crew, as always, incredibly inviting, warm, and then just the standard all-around excellent AmaWaterways service.
What type of stateroom did you have, Christy?
On this sailing, my mom and I were in a BA at 210 square feet. It featured Ama's famous twin balconies, so the balcony that you can actually step out onto, and then of course also a French balcony. It worked out very well for my mother and I, and it was a good size room.
So now when it comes to the Tulip Time River Cruise, would you recommend folks having a balcony stateroom?
Honestly, we were so busy. I'm not sure that I spent much time on the balcony. I would say on a Tulip Time cruise where there's a little less afternoon sailing than there might be on other itineraries, that it's not necessary.
So in other words, a balcony is great to have, but probably you'd agree with me the most important thing is choose the stateroom that you can most afford, because the most important thing is to get on the cruise, right?
On this itinerary, we were so busy that I could have done away with the balcony completely. I would have been perfectly happy in a fixed cabin or a fixed windows cabin, but it is always nice to have that balcony.
What made this particular itinerary so busy for you, Christy?
Well, every day there were wonderful excursions. We had the opportunity on the first day to visit a working bulb field. We got to bring home tulips, which is pretty rare when you go to visit one of these tulip fields, the opportunity to pick. And then we had full day tours in Ghent, which would be the launching place to go visit Bruges from. There we did a standard kind of city walking tour, but then had quite a bit of free time. And so I got to experience some really great local beer, a wonderful local stew that was absolutely delicious. And then my favorite thing that I did in this city was take a $10 additional cruise of the rivers. It's the kind of Venice of the North.
Right.
Absolutely stunning scenery, beautiful.
Oh, fantastic. Now, with beer and food, you made me hungry. So I have to know, what was the dining like on board AmaWaterways?
Very good. AmaWaterways all around is pretty well known for their cuisine. They do an excellent job with cuisine and service and wine, and I can't say anything different about this particular sailing. It was great.
For viewers that are considering a Tulip Time cruise, Christy, do you have any particular advice that you'd want to offer on that?
My advice would be one, to make sure that you're going during the optimal tulip time
Mhm.
season. We happen to be gone over Easter, and while some people may not want to be away from their families during Easter, there are plenty of departures so that you can line up your dates with peak tulip viewing season.
Right.
Something else that I noticed on board, there were an enormous number of mother and daughter teams, multi-generational families, mostly comprised of women. And I also saw that this was an excellent sailing for groups of women who had a particular interest, like
Sure.
crafting, scrapbooking. There was an enormous knitting group on board. And so if you're a member of a group like that, this is an excellent itinerary to be more inspired by your hobbies, meet other people who have the same hobbies, and just make friends.
I never thought of that. That makes a lot of sense.
There were a few excursions that were more of interest to the men. One in particular was a visit to the Delta Works Museum, which highlighted the engineering marvel that the government went through to engineer the waterways
Mhm.
to prevent mass flooding
Oh,
of
right.
the Benelux region and actually all of Northern Europe. Extremely interesting.
So, Christy, you mentioned that March through the end of April is peak time for tulip. How was the weather when you were there? Because where I'm from, it can be pretty chilly. Do you have any recommendations for what one should bring for that time of year in Holland and those places?
The weather was actually fantastic. I
Really?
did pack for the worst case by bringing my standard winter coat,
Mhm.
but I only wore it maybe one or two of the days, and it was really unnecessary. It was just kind of a precaution
Okay.
bringing it along. The weather was excellent. In most days, I could wear a sweater or a sweatshirt and possibly the beautiful scarf that AmaWaterways gave us on the journey, but it was mid 60s, I would say, most days, and sunny, luckily for us.
Oh, well, that's perfect weather for that type of a vacation, because you don't need it to be beaten down hot, and mid 60s is great for getting out for those excursions and that sort of thing.
Also, too, for the active excursions, with all those bike
Yeah.
rides that AmaWaterways features, very great weather for biking through cities.
Did you have a chance to engage in any of the bike tours?
Yes, I did. I took two of their bike
Mhm.
tours, architectural bike tours of Antwerp and Rotterdam, and absolutely beautiful. We happened to be in Rotterdam on Easter Sunday, and so it was extremely quiet and great conditions for biking through a city that we don't know well.
Oh, fantastic! Now, just as a matter of interest, how long would a bike tour excursion last, Christy?
They lasted between about 90 minutes and 2 hours with frequent stops
Right.
for, water breaks, but also to have our guide tell us what we were looking at or give us the sights.
Okay, great. So you mentioned that there was lots of mother and daughters teams on board and some multi-generational families on board as well. Would this cruise be good for younger children, as Alma Waterways does allow that?
Yes, they do allow that for ages 4 and up.
Right.
I have taken my daughter on an AmaWaterways River Cruise. It was a Christmas market sailing. And I think that this itinerary, just like that one, lends itself to the right kid having an excellent time on a river cruise. So it's not the best cruise for a kid, maybe that is a lot more active. I would say maybe in general, it's a great cruise to take girls on. In general, younger girls are a little bit more
Yeah.
calm, easygoing than perhaps boys might be. But if you know your kid and you think that it's a great fit for them, they are off the ship every day. There are plenty of things to do and see every day. Every city that we went to had something that I could recommend for a kid to go see. And then on board, the staff are exceptional with children. So making sure the kid has something that they're interested in eating at each meal. There was an Easter egg hunt on board, and they do that with all of the sailings
Yep.
kind of that surround Easter. And then on Easter Sunday, there was also a beautiful chocolate Easter bunny placed in each stateroom.
So
Mhm.
basically, what it comes down to, if you're considering taking the younger kids along on a river cruise, is you really want to know your kid.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there are a couple things on the top deck too that might be of interest to children, like a large size, oversized chessboard. There's a cornhole board on the top deck. And then, of course, there's also a heated pool, which they did heat well enough for us to get into it.
Oh, great, great.
Mhm.
So, Christy, when folks do a river cruise, more often than not, they'll want to come into the destination either 1 or 2 days early, and perhaps
Mhm.
because they're flying over there, they may want to stay 1 or 2 days afterwards. Did you do any kind of a pre-cruise extension on either on the front end or the back end? And also, do you recommend it?
So for this cruise in particular, for every river cruise, I recommend going in early. There's so much to see in Europe, but in particular, I could easily spend a week in Amsterdam and never run out of things to do. There's so much to see. You could easily make your way to Delft, where I had the chance once to paint my own Delft tile in the style of that famous blue and white pottery. There's so many museums in Amsterdam. Of course, there's excellent food. There are the canals. There's the history with the Anne Frank House and Corrie ten Boom. Just so much to do that I could plan an entire week for you in advance. Or you could take one of the AmaWaterways kind of pre-packaged pre-stays that includes 2 nights in Amsterdam and a couple of great walking tours.
Fantastic. Well, Christy, this has been absolutely super. If folks wanted to reach out to you for more insights or to book a Tulip Time River Cruise, how would they do that?
So the best way to reach me is by using the link in the show notes. That is going to lead you to our calendar where I have my time set up so that I can guarantee I'm going to give you about 30 minutes to get to know you and your preferences and make sure we match you up with the right sailing and itinerary. Or you could just give me a call, 830-310-0244, or of course, send me an email at the address that's shown on the screen.
Perfect. As always, I'll leave the information in the show notes for those folks that might like to reach out. But as always, I have to know where you're off to next so I can live vicariously through your travels. Where are you heading to next, Christy?
In the next 2 weeks, Ken, I am headed to Nairobi, where I will begin a about 9-day journey through Kenya and Uganda. I'm going to trek the gorillas. I'm going to see the last 2 remaining northern white rhinos on Earth. I'm going to get to experience some of the most luxurious sanctuary camps in either of those 2 countries, and then, of course, do all the big 5 game drives that are famous.
That's fantastic. Well, we are definitely going to have you back to compare notes on that one.
Okay.
I've been to Africa as well, and it's an amazing experience. Well, with that, Christy, I'm just going to wish you safe and happy travels on all your future destinations and cruises. May the wind always be at your back, and I hope to see you on the top deck of an AmaWaterways ship sometime soon in the future.
That'd be wonderful, Ken. Thank you.
Take care. And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guest, Christy Fitzharris of Wheels Up Travel and Cruise. If you'd like to reach Christy, I will leave her contact information in the description below. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can simply send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com, visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, subscribe, share, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps other folks just like you to find our content. So until next time, happy travels.